Alright, so phagocytosis, again, remember this is a type of endocytosis. Phagocytosis translates into cell eating, alright, and this is basically where the cell is going to eat substances, alright. It'll engulf relatively large and solid material. Typically it's going to be found as a clump of bacteria, as well as cellular debris, just basically the breakdown of cells, so when the cells are damaged or they die, as well as inanimate particles. So think of like asbestos fibers, glass. All right, now there's several steps in phagocytosis. First of all, that particle is going to bind to receptors on the cell surface. And what you see here is you see these little arms come up, or legs. They're called pseudopods. All right, false feet. And they come up and they start to kind of grab onto that particle. And when they do that, they pull that particle into the cell, and that infolding will kind of, it'll kind of secure this into a vacuole. All right, we call this a phagosome because it's a phagocytic endosome. So we call it a phagosome. Now, in most cases, that phagosome is going to merge with a lysosome down here. Remember, lysosomes have digestive material in it, and so it will merge with that lysosome, and it'll dump all of the digestive enzymes in here so it can break down that particle. All right, now there's several phagocytic cells that we're going to talk about throughout this course. Several of them are actually white blood cells. All right, monocytes. A monocyte is a white blood cell that basically circulates in the blood, and it does surveillance, and it does phagocytosis of anything that it needs to do phagocytosis of. Infectious materials, cells and cell particles that have been found in the bloodstream, that sort of thing. So a monocyte will respond to those. Now, the monocytes are going to strictly be found in blood. It's a phagocyte in blood. But what's going to happen is if they decide that they need to go into tissue, they can go into tissue, and they basically just become a macrophage. So you're going to see macrophages in tissues doing the same thing. Right? They do surveillance, and they engulf cellular debris and microorganisms. Neutrophils are another white blood cell. They can be found in both blood and in tissues. They can move throughout the body, and they also do phagocytosis. Eosinophils also do phagocytosis, but not as much as these other three that are important. All right, and they're gonna move. They almost move like an amoeba. All right, so they kind of creepy crawl along the surfaces in the body. All right. The other important role that they play is they can trigger inflammation, and when we trigger inflammation, we basically are signaling to other cells to bring in the substances that will reduce harm when there's an infection or an injury.